We are reconnecting from the CC Summit in Toronto. It's Sunday, April the 15th. The summit is almost over, so this is a very nice moment to reflect on where we are, and we're happy to have our virtual buddies with us and share some, thoughts about the summit. I have with me,
we can introduce ourselves.
Yes, two other participants of this event will now introduce themselves, and I'll introduce myself last.
Okay. I'm Dorlyn Rossman. I'm from Montana State University in the United States, and I'm a librarian, and this is my first summit. And I also am a participant in the CC Certificate Beta program for librarians and recently graduated. So, thank you.
My name is Jenren. I'm the Assistant Director of Open Education at Creative Commons. And I started with Creative Commons 5 weeks ago, so it's been a delight to jump right in with the summit and the certificate program, working with Dorlyn and others. And yeah, just excited to be here and happy to chat.
And I'm Alek Tarkowski. I come from Poland, where I work for an NGO called the Centrum Cyfrowe, the Digital Center, and I'm also part of the Creative Commons Poland team. A lot of my work has to do with open education, so that's something that connects us here. So I thought, I'm sure you want to talk about the certificates program, and it's the really interesting thing in the summit, but maybe let's start more generally, what was the most interesting thing that happened to you here, something or some thought or a project that really intrigued you? I can start with something that will sound maybe a bit funny, but I appreciate these moments. A lot of this event is very intellectual. You go, you have to ingest knowledge, and there's so much facts, and it's 3 full days. So I appreciate situations where I do something different. And for me, this was a project by an Argentinian guy called Fernando, who has a project called Alquimetrics, and it's like a method. He says he compares it to Lego, but it's supposed to be Lego that doesn't cost anything, and it's basically designed a system to create these geometric 3-dimensional shapes out of barbecue skewers.
I saw that.
And these connectors, you just cut them out yourself from some kind of foam or leather. So it's all extremely do-it-yourself. And he has this beautiful story about, it's one of these very generic tools around which you just build everything. You build a maths education, you build empowerment of children and imagination, you build collaboration. And it was just so mind-blowing to see this. It's so complete that I'm just fascinated that we can meet this kind of people here. And it's very inspiring for me.
I think one of the most inspiring talks I went to was on open pedagogy, and I was so excited to learn about this new, kind of a new domain for me. And openpedagogy.org just launched, so it's a website that will, I think, help us kind of co-create open lesson plans and draw from this ethos of openness in teaching. So I'm hoping that we can bring it into the CC certificate work moving forward.
Yeah. I was speaking with one of your volunteers here. She's a graduate student at Ryerson University, and she's working on a documentary project that she's been doing where it's actually some oral histories and some photographs looking at a parade they have here in Toronto every year. And so she's looking about what it means to be the queen of this parade. And the reason she found out about Creative Commons is because she was uploading things to Vimeo and kept saying things in the bottom of Vimeo referring to Creative Commons. And so she got curious about it and then found out about this conference. And so I thought it was really interesting to think about the ways people might encounter Creative Commons where they just notice that the permission that's being given. So she sounded like she was pretty excited about continuing in the community, and she's interested in a certificate program perhaps for artists and video producers and thinking about how we can educate that community. So I thought that might be something we might want to talk about more. Yeah, there's a lot of demand for how we can help those certificates.
That's brilliant. That's great to hear from you guys. I think I've just parted with some money for Jenren to help teach me more about Creative Commons and get certified, which many people have told me I've needed for quite some time. Christina, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. I'm outside. It's very loud, so I won't have my mic on very much. Christina Hendricks. I teach philosophy at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, BC in Canada. And I'm also the Deputy Academic Director of our Centre for Teaching and Learning. And we do quite a bit in open education in our centre. And I've been an advocate for quite a number of years. So yeah, I wanted to go to the summit, just couldn't afford it this year. So, and I hear that it's in Lisbon next year. I probably can't afford that either.
That was the surprise announcement after our last keynote discussion, which was, yeah.
I got teary-eyed. I don't know why. The Lisbon team, like Portugal team, just seemed so excited about it. And I got excited with them.
Yeah, it'd be really good to have it in Europe as well, to move around a bit and see how we're getting on with our link tax fights and things in the EU still going on.
But I also hope we'll get to a point as a community. I think like my preferred model is one big event, but then several smaller ones, either like regional or national. But the space just needs to be filled, you know, and also the space of those people who cannot make it, like intercontinentally. And I know it sounds like added effort, so I think we need some time to get there. But I appreciate these projects, which like also have some like smaller mid-range events.
I have to say, it's really been, I mean, just following on Twitter and virtually connecting sessions and things, it has really helped increase access to the discussions that have been going on at the Creative Commons Summit. And, you know, it really helps that people were periscoping sessions, people were tweeting and sharing. And especially with our conference just next week, OER 18, you kind of hope that these things will fertilize and join and connect. So that's been brilliant.
Yeah, it's such a great idea. I'm glad that you guys are organizing this, and it's just like one other way to expand access, which I like. We did have a Periscope session yesterday where I think I had the phone like right up under my nostrils almost the whole time. I just felt very bad for the online audience. I only saw like double chins and nostrils. But
I was on that one and I actually just stopped watching the video, but I was just listening.
I'm pretty sure I made people a little seasick because
No, it showed the room, you know, so you could get a sense. It really felt like I was there. It really was wonderful. So I'm so glad you guys did that.
Did you feel any tension in the room?
No.
Okay. We had, so it was the Open Education Platform session, which covered a number of different goals. So it was kind of like a smorgasbord of, I don't know if I say that right, but of the different updates. And it ended with a hot topic panel discussion of publishers entering the open space, and then a Q&A with anyone in the audience was able to ask these panelists questions about if they were really being open or if they were open watching, and you know what they were actually doing to live by their advertised words. I felt
the Periscope session ended like 10 minutes into the hot topic panel. Yeah. Wow. So we didn't get to see most of it, but you know.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's okay.
I saw
it dropped out.
I think we lost internet because I think Ethan, he was trying to download Periscope then too, and we couldn't get it running again. Sorry. Well, maybe it was, you know, it was just building up suspense till the next one, because I think we're gonna do more.
So I wasn't there, so I wanted to also understand it was like a Q&A session. Yep. So I'm interested that this is for me a big topic. How do we talk with publishers, right? And in this case, I understand they like really were entering at their territory, right?
They were in some ways entering the lion's den.
Small numbers versus like a big crowd. What do you think was the outcome? Like, did it feel like highlighting challenges, or was there some bridging done? Like, what can you achieve with this kind of format? Or is just everyone really riled up at the end?
No, I think that I probably have a totally different perspective than a lot of other folks that have been in this space a lot longer in different ways. So coming from the government without expertise in some of the challenges that people have faced with publishers, I am probably not gonna. I won't have the same expectation. I thought that if our goal is to allow space for them to enter into this community and ultimately have live by our values of empathy and openness to others and kind of a receptivity to different perspectives and so on, then in next discussions, I think we'll probably have to make sure to put our goals out up front for how to manage the discussion and so on. Because I think there was a little bit of an us versus them mentality, probably rightly so, but that's not going to yield any kind of collaborative effort in the future. But at the same time, I recognize people having, more of a confrontational approach. I don't know.
It's good we made this start.
Yeah. I think some of the tension I was hearing in there was around how publishers were perhaps portraying their efforts around OER, because there were sort of varying models there depending on what the teachers they might be helping want, what they're trying to do as potentially a company to still have a viable business. And so I think there was some tension in the room about how the publishers may portray their efforts, and is it really OER in the way that most people would define it. And so I heard from the publishers, like, we want to have a conversation, but I mean, there's a lot of tension, and I think not fully trusting there, because it's that model of wanting to get people the resources and not mislead them about what they're getting. And so it's hard to have those conversations.
And I think people have been burned before with hearing the lip service to openness and then not having the follow through. So I think people wanted to make sure that that people were held accountable. But at the same time, I think the publishers were saying, we're here because we do want to enter into this space, and just let us know how we can do this better, which I really appreciate. So it seemed, at least from my beginner mindset or newbie eyes, it seemed like a genuine effort to learn how they could enter this space a little bit better.
There's a debate with publishers yesterday, the Open Education platform.
Okay.
We have a surprise guest with us.
Yay!
Hi,
Hi guys.
do you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry for being late. I'm a newbie at the summit. It's my first one, so I'm really excited to be here. And I'm from Poland, and I work as public policy advisor on open and copyright law, both on domestic and European level. Yeah,
So slightly different.
just to make it clear, I'm really excited.
Sorry.
We're excited to have you there too. I think, as you were saying, these conversations are difficult, but at least they are happening. They have to start. It'll take a long time to work these through, because people like the status quo. If they've got a status quo that is established within their business model, they would prefer to maintain that. So it's not an easy path. And I think Alek and Josie last year in OER 17 really reminded us that actually the activity we're involved in within open education is a political activity. So there are bound to be difficult discussions to be had, and it's great to see Creative Commons leading the way on having those discussions as well, because Cable was very clear that he was going to embark on and ask some difficult questions in that session. So I hope I'll be able to catch up with it on Periscope, because I wasn't able to watch that one yesterday.
So for me, the trick is, I think the point we need to get to is, like, we need to get over the idea that they're by default insincere. I don't know, maybe they might be, some of them. Maybe some of us are not. Like, I think we should rather assume we might have extremely different viewpoints to the point where we're, let's call it, enemies, right? But I think it's good to acknowledge that most of the time the other side is also professional, value-based, and they're just decent humans when you talk with them, only we're just in very, very different places. And I think, like, recently we had a discussion in Europe. We had an event with publishers. I appreciate that they came. They, of course, came in a way to make sure everything's controlled, right? And they always speak up in Q&As, always, right? It's their rule, smart rule that we
It's
can
like
also
KPI
use.
according to
Yeah, just like
company
check,
standards.
I made a comment. And my initial like break point where something happened is I started talking with an Italian guy about Italian politics, right? Because I know a bit, and it was nothing to do with publishing. I was just like super good conversation over
Just
that.
human to human.
And then you start seeing how your thinking shifts. He's good, smiling at you, you know, and then you feel it's also an interesting challenge. I think it's like it feels good to move somewhere. Of course, a lot of people will reply, "You're being naive. They're playing us." I don't know. I'm willing to give them benefit.
I can see an internet meme arising from this. Publishers are people too.
But then I
Hug the publisher. I can see the
then I had this idea, maybe you make them all get CC certified. Like certify your whole office.
Love for this one on the house.
But you know, or it really might. That's an interesting thought, I think.
It is. Yeah.
It'd be
Well,
interesting
otherwise-
perspective in the room.
That really would be.
Yeah.
Should we talk a bit about the certificates? It was a big thing at the summit.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to maybe give a 2-minute summary, but then it'd be really valuable to hear from someone who actually went through the course. So the certificate is an in-depth training course for ensuring that participants are trained in CC open licenses and the open practices, in general, ethos of the commons, to help them better navigate their own institutional work. So whether they're looking at creating new policies or creating new openly licensed educational resources, or we're working with existing openly licensed resources, this kind of gives people the expertise that they might need to more effectively work in this space. And then it also, we hope, helps people who may be applying for government or foundation grants or contracts, because an increasing number of grants and contracts have open licensing requirements. So we're hoping that the CC certificate provides participants with the tools to become experts in open licensing, either for librarians or educators right now, but we intend to expand the audience for the certificates very soon. Looks like we should have, a software update. I'll just remind me later.
So I was in the program and beta cohort. There was an educator track, a librarian track, and we had some things that were separate and some things together. So I really liked that because we got to hear from people who aren't necessarily the people that we're around every day, but have some similarities. And I took the course because I felt like I knew enough about Creative Commons to be dangerous, that I, I knew something, but I could probably convey misinformation rather than what I am able to do now, which is I feel like I've got a lot better context for where CC fits in with the open movement more generally. And so for my own publishing, I'm able to better advocate for myself and for how I want to put my information out there, but also that I can talk with other faculty members on my campus about our growing OER efforts, what kind of licenses they might want to put out there, how, Evan was referencing earlier about open pedagogy and how people might design their courses, and so it's a lot more than just the licenses. It's about a whole suite of skills and tools. So, if you're a librarian, you're probably going to be somebody who's known as a resource on your campus, and I think you're doing yourself a service and your institution a service if you're able to be able to talk better. And it was really fun too. We made like graphics and videos, and we had discussions, and it was something that was a really nice break from a lot of the routine I usually do. So I felt like it was a good community to be a part of.
Any questions?
Sure. So I think both Teresa and I have signed up, and I think Jenny too, for the summer cohort. So you had mentioned that you sometimes connected with the educator track. So I think we're all in the educator track. I'm wondering if that's going to continue, because I think that's really cool that you would, connect with another track as well. And then I was also wondering if there are synchronous sessions where you get to chat together. I don't know. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm just curious.
Yeah, these are great questions. I think we're definitely looking at having synchronous web chats to suit every time zone, but I don't know how many we'll have per cohort. But I would like to make these sessions open to both tracks, and then also both tracks are in asynchronous discussions on Slack. So, and also on the discussion board in Canvas.
Yeah, so we had a discussion area in Canvas where we were around the assignments themselves, and Slack was sort of more troubleshooting things, and sometimes just being more casual. So it was kind of nice because those were very sort of different environments, but they were connected there. And since a lot of CC communities are already on Slack, that was a nice introduction to me to get more involved in other CC communities like education, for example.
Something we all said, unless you want to say or talk a bit more about certificates, but we all talked about one of the interesting things I thought, maybe Natalia can also tell. We all said like something that was just like fabulous. Especially something that you know others can experience without being like.
I would say people, like people are generally fabulous here. They're really open to share. They're very different in a way. You know, we are coming from so many different places, different backgrounds. So for me as a legal professional, it's really like something very eye-opening. But like the thought I would bring back home, I guess, is that opens so much more than only open content, however you will understand it. And for me, it's like a big open, so people collaborate. Something very crucial, but also open, you know, open environment in a way that you should really care about the internet being the place we can develop, we can progress, we can have new initiatives, and it's so much more than only licenses beyond this. And so that's like, you know, right now I have to confess I feel really confused. Like, you know, I have so many thoughts I want to write them down, but I'm so tired, especially from heaven today. So, but tired in a positive way, of course. But like, yeah, it's like this sun gave me a bigger picture, you know. It's so many connecting things we are dealing with, and the picture itself is so big, it's so big open. So it's like it's something very like important for me, very precious.
It's interesting for me also with the certificate that there's like one level at which you really need the knowledge, as you're saying, like not to be dangerous. Right. And it's about like there's no you cannot jump over, like, you know, no shortcuts that works. You just have to learn these things, and it's pretty like just normal learning process and so on. And there's this other level where we all feel it's much more than that what you learn, that there's the community, that there's the collaboration. I think it's like you need to, instead the next question, touch all those bases. Because we're next to a baseball stadium.
Clearly, we're at the end of our conference.
I need to go in a second to a session. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah,
if you want to hang out for a bit longer, I don't know what time is it. I need to be a bit earlier. So we still have 5 minutes. Can I leave you here, or will you be fine? I'm moderating.
We will go crazy.
Okay,
yeah.
So you go crazy, and I say bye-bye.
Just make it so this is very good.
The value you got. Do you want to come as well?
Yeah, you know,
So we're losing the Polish contingent.
No, I'm still here. Yeah. For 5 more minutes, I guess, but like, I'm still here.
I just had another question just to follow up actually from the word that Alek mentioned a couple of times there, the word dangerous, because one of the most fascinating things I thought that was coming out as a message through Twitter on the CC Summit was how we deal with the vulnerability of openness, and certainly in certain spaces, and with Creative Commons being so international, I'm sure you're aware of that as well, and the dangers of open, which are very real dangers for some people, and how we take those things into account. I wondered, because you were at the conference, whether that was something that you felt people were talking about as well.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that yesterday when Chris Ford was talking. about how openness can lead to vulnerability of certain populations. And so I started thinking through my own context. So even if I said to a student who I'm working with, would you be willing to share your data? I'm in a power position over that student. And so how do you check those powers in a way that genuinely lets people participate in those environments without just further reinforcing an oppression they may be feeling? And I'm still struggling through that, but it definitely raised issues where I just think open is so good. And I just think it can raise a lot of issues that are unintended consequences. And an example of my own institution is there's a native culture language that's about to go extinct, and we've got a white male professor who has a lot of information about that language, and he's interested in preserving it. And so we're very concerned about how we can work with the remaining population in that native community to make sure that we're not compromising what they would want. Would they even want their language preserved, and would they want a group of white people doing this work? So a lot of those issues were raised for me through the discussions here.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I think I had this thought yesterday as well, that there is this kind of temptation or kind of risk of over controlling open, kind of, like who's to decide what open is? That's a really good question. There are so many communities referring to open. So, and maybe we should let those communities decide on themselves. Like kind of, we shouldn't brand open as well. Like I also see such very, it's a kind of easy path to say, open something that is attached to Creative Commons, and we are open, and if you want to be open, you need to fulfill this and this and this requirements. But like, let open just be, and of course, if you let something be, there are some disadvantages and some threats. But the same with internet, I kind of that's the big challenge, how to regulate internet, and of course, you can try to regulate every single situation possible of some violation online, but it's one direction way. It's simply like we will end up trying to be very you'll be just very exclusive at the end. So I think you should accept the fact that open can be threatening, because it's something, it's as it was said several times during the summit, that open is something revolutionary. Like it's something, it's not we are not open by default, like right now, at least in 21st century. So it's a very new concept. So of course it will have some consequences we can't simply predict, but at least I don't plan to care too much about them, because I don't want this fear to kind of interfere on the work I can do to support this positive message of open. So that's at least my idea how I can do this, deal with this. Yeah, but for sure, these are very big, important questions. So.
Yeah, I was
sorry, Jenrin, you go ahead.
Well, I was also struck with that message and realizing any time we have a kind of prescriptive notion of what something should be on a global scale, it's coming from the assumptions of the prescriber, and that is very dangerous to be making any assumptions about any international or any localized audience. I mean, that's always going to be limiting in some way, and even if you're aware of your assumptions, you can still do damage. So in some ways, it's really humbling to hear this message and then apply it to the certificate, which is in essence based on an assumption of a one global standard for CC certified expertise, which will be, we're trying to allow for flexibility for local context and so on, but it's top of mind. I think I want to be sure that we keep in mind the danger wherever possible with our efforts. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful message.
I suppose we're saying, go into it with your eyes open and make sure you really understand. Most important, keep your eyes open. And at the end of a long conference, I'm sure that's not easy. So I hope you're going to get plenty of time to rest. Our official time is up, so I'm going to take us offline. But thank you so much for your time and your insights. It's been great to actually kind of meet you in a virtual space. I'm following, I think, all of you on Twitter, so I hope we'll continue to connect. And thank you very much for participating in Virtually Connecting for us.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.